Coming soon is the third annual Golden Whiskers Awards to be held at the Catfish Conference in Louisville, Kentucky on February 24th. Now is the time to get involved with the catfish community and be a part of something special. Don't miss your opportunity to be an official award sponsor of the Golden Whiskers. Businesses, YouTube channels, and individuals are encouraged to sponsor awards. Prices may vary from $20 to $40 depending on which award you choose to sponsor. So sponsor today. Awards are going fast. Be a part of the third annual Golden Whiskers Awards, brought to you by Palmetto Cats.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Palmetto Cats Live. Hope everybody's having an awesome week and a great day. I hope you had a chance to go out and vote yesterday, Election Day. If you didn't, you missed out. You missed an opportunity to be a part of history. And then, speaking of Election Day, I thought, why not talk about politics, fishing politics in general? Over the past 2 years, I've just been kind of sitting back and trying to find my place in the community, not only on YouTube, but within the industry of fishing, period, and primarily catfishing. But now that I've done this thing in the fishing industry for about 3 years now, I've decided that I've got, ever so slightly a foothold into understanding the ins and outs of the industry. And I figure, hey, why not talk about it? Get some opinions from you guys, my opinions. And that's all we're talking about is opinions. And we're going to talk about it with one of the great YouTubers in the catfish industry that is no stranger to fishing politics, Mr. Dieter Melhorn. I'm going to welcome him up.
What's up, guys? What's up? We're going to call me the mayor.
The mayor.
The mayor. There we go.
I'm definitely the mayor of Fishtown.
Yeah, I'm definitely not a good politician, so I wouldn't follow him. I'd never get elected.
Well, you seem to be in tune, or at least up to date with what's being posted. What's being shared around with at least the heavy hitters in the industry. So I couldn't think of anyone better to bring up here but you. So I appreciate you taking some time out. I know you got a big trip planned for tomorrow. What's that all about?
Yeah, going deer hunting in Kentucky. It's our annual trip out there and playing the guide to my son, who's going to try to make it 3 years in a row. He's killed the past 2 years some good deer out there, and we're going to try doing it again. So, yeah, it's kind of our little annual getaway out there. So, yeah, looking forward to that. It's going to go from, what do we got, 65, 70 degrees here in the south today. I think it's supposed to be 72, 74 in Western Kentucky tomorrow, 65 on Friday, and then a high of 45 Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So boom. And it happens every year we go out there. It'll be warm, and then a front will come through. And
I can't.
Friday night.
I was just in another chat. Hooks and Hammocks was fishing live, and I popped in there for a few minutes, and somebody, I think it was Chad Fields, said that they're expecting snow next week.
Yep, there's actually a chance out there where we're at on Tuesday, I believe. There's some snow in the morning overnight, Monday night. So, yeah, crazy. Fall will finally be here, semi-winter. So, there we go.
Hey, we got a super chat from Freddy's Outdoor Adventures, a member of our Boom Squad. He said, let's go. Can't wait to hear from the Chicken Man.
The Chicken Man.
On this topic. Listen, I caught a really good fish yesterday so I went out fishing and then I went voting and we had other stuff to go on, but I was turned the camera towards myself like we've all done. I was doing the outro. I caught a bunch of small fish, some teeners, as you would say, and I wasn't really excited about it, so I was doing a little outro saying, this is as good as it's gonna get, and then the rod just bowed over, and it was about, well, I won't give away the weight, it'll be in the video, but on chicken, they wouldn't hit anything but chicken yesterday.
Funny how that works sometimes.
I had fresh bluegill, and then I also had some Blue River carp bait that was sent to me. And I did catch one on the bluegill head. I didn't catch anything on the carp bait.
Were you in one of the Santee Cooper lakes or in the
The
river?
river. I was in the Cooper
River. Okay. I've been curious how, because I know it works in the lakes. I was curious how it worked in the actual rivers down there. And that's something I may be playing around with this fall. But yeah,
Yeah, I've
that's cool to
tried
hear.
the other brand, the dark water brand, and I didn't catch anything on that either. So, just maybe wrong time, wrong place, whatever. But anyway, we're not here
Yeah.
to talk about bait. Before we get started, I do want to thank our Boom Squad members. Those are the people with the little icons by their name. Thank you so much for supporting the channel monthly. It does a great deal for me to be able to put out content, gas money, bait money sometimes. You saw a commercial also for the Golden Whisker sponsorships. There's only a few left. If you want to sponsor an award, $20. I think the remaining few are only at $20. So if you want to get your name advertised when we do that show in Kentucky, just send me an email. There's the email right there. So those are the only announcements. At the end of the show, I will go over some other stuff that's coming up, but I don't want to waste any more time. But we do got another donation, $4.99 donation to the Catfish Party Campaign Fund. Vote Dieter Melhorn. That's what Muddy River Catfishing said earlier. Awesome. And Olive thinks that she should vote for you too. My dog is barking back there. All right, Dieter. Let's get into the nitty gritty. I want to tell everybody in chat that we're attacking this topic because I've heard already some drama to my post earlier this week, kind of prefacing what I'm going to talk about. But none of this is taken in a negative tone. It's just simply observations and honest observations from myself and Dieter, and anyone who wants to put a comment in chat. If it's a cool comment, I'll put it up on the screen. All right. What is the definition of politics, Dieter? I know you looked it up.
I looked it up here, and this is from Wikipedia, which, I mean, all the answers to everything in life are there. It's obviously a Greek word, politica, and affairs of the cities is the the what is that, etymology of where it came from. So it's a set of activities that are associated with making decisions in groups or other forms of power relations among individuals, such as the distribution of resources or status. The branch of social science that studies politics and governance is referred to as political science. So it's not just Republicans and Democrats, but those bigger dynamics that take place in your job, in the military, really anywhere out there in the world. And yeah, it takes place in the fishing community too, whether it be catfish or anywhere else. Now, not everybody.
Not to be confused with drama.
Right.
Now, sometimes politics can turn into drama because people get their feelings and emotions into it.
Yeah.
And I think when you get your feelings and emotions into the politics, that's when it becomes drama.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I guess we should be clear that when we say politics and fishing, we don't mean Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians involved in it, even though sometimes there are some side plays in that. But yeah, it's more the dynamics of what happens among fishermen, companies in fishing, organizations in fishing, all that kind of stuff. And not everybody is touched by it, to be perfectly honest. Some people are, they just go fishing, they sit on the riverbank, they catch their fish, they go home, they never tune into Palmetto Cats, they never tune into Dieter Melhorn fishing, any of that stuff, don't even know this exists, and that's their little fishing world. And but they may be touched by it when it comes to harvest regulations or whatever the law is for whatever that they're fishing for, because somewhere along the way, those rules came about because of some type of political power pressure.
And that's a good place to start.
Yeah. Some of that's literally political pressure. Some of it's political pressure from, groups of fishermen that, we don't want catfish because they eat all of our bass, or, we don't want people to kill all the catfish because we like big ones. So that's where all those dynamics kind of start to come into play.
And you see that with, the regulations, here in South Carolina, I think we do a great job. The governor just put a limit, 28 per day in the Santee Cooper lakes. I think it's, I believe it's in all lakes in South Carolina. I'm not sure about that. But they're putting limits on it. And you can only have one over 32 inches. I think we do a decent job in South Carolina, and I know North Carolina is not too far off. But then you get out in places like Kentucky, where they have a lot of what we call pay lakes.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a huge political and dramatical
Yeah.
point in a lot of people's lives, especially in the catfish industry.
Yeah.
And basically, it comes down to people harvesting fish from public waters and putting them into private ponds.
Yep. And, all of that is, South Carolina, the whole thing there, that was the way that whole law came about and the way it became spread. It was that law initially was going to be just on Santee Cooper and the lakes that feed into it. And some people got that going by, doing some politicking with some real politicians and got this initiated. For people watching around the country, South Carolina is a little bit backwards. No offense to Palmetto Cats and his people, but in most places, the DNR, the change. In South Carolina, it's the politicians, and this is no exaggeration. While the biologists may suggest something, it's the politicians are the ones who enact it and push it forward. And it's a weird dynamic that goes on. But what happened was, from my understanding, is they got this thing passed. It went through all the levels of the House. And I remember, we had all read it, most of us in this area, and we're like, oh, this is exciting that this will happen. And then supposedly when it went to the governor to sign, he scratched out something and added in and all other lakes in South Carolina. And all of a sudden, that political play and that political power, came in and poof, change happened. It's probably not the way it should happen, or probably well, I'm not complaining about it. You think the process would be better, because it's kind of scary that it could have went totally the opposite way too, just depending on who you are friends with and who you work out buddy with. So, but yeah, all that stuff comes into play.
Yeah, and people are putting up, like Cody said, there's a one over 25 a day, but it has to be enforced. And that's another thing. You can sign whatever and say something is law, but if you're not providing the resources to enforce the law, then you're not really the law doesn't matter.
All those regulations are just there so that when something is found, the law enforcement has something to enforce. As far as that's true for deer, that's true for elk, it's true for fish. I mean, a lot of stuff people are just going to get away with, and it's always going to be that way, no matter what the law is. So you can only enforce so much. I mean, you can only have so many people out there looking and checking creels and everything else. So there's a limit to that. But
I know we have a shortage of DNR officers in our state.
Yeah.
And, I'm fine with that for me, because I don't like getting checked, because I follow the rules. I don't keep more than I should. Not even by accident. Like, I make sure that if I don't know, I either throw it back or I put it in a live well till I can figure it out. And obviously when I started YouTube, we don't keep fish as much anymore, but I'm fine with not having the people out, but I know that there's people, I see them all the time, harvesting more than they should. And, thankfully, and now I haven't seen it. I'm sure there are pay lakes in South Carolina, but I haven't seen as much as other states.
Yeah.
And you see it on Facebook, and I think we have a soft spot definitely for our catfish, and so it hurts a little bit different to see that. What's your opinion on that, on pay lakes?
Well, I mean, they exist in South Carolina. There's one that's tried to buy fish from me before too.
Really?
I've had a couple of them trying to buy fish. They're $2 a pound, and one's over 40. It's like $3 a pound. I mean, it's crazy what they buy, but they exist. They're not going away. I don't think we'll ever get them banned or stopped or anything else. And that's another political thing. We want to talk about the politics of all this stuff. Is those people, when you look at it, when you take a step back from our little world of what we like,
right?
They're a stakeholder. They're doing everything legally. They're doing everything within the law. They're, ethically, you can't make an argument there, because what they're doing is legal. It's just like every fish I catch and release, thousands of them, they could be easily killed. It wouldn't be no law broken by doing it. But those people, being a stakeholder, have some power, and they are able to use that leverage because one is business versus the recreation end that most of us are on.
Right.
And the state, they look at that and they take all that into consideration. There are businesses, people's livelihood based around these pay lakes, and it's going to be hard to make them go away and disappear. It's going to be hard to limit the fish going to them. You would have to really do some serious lobbying and really show that there is a big problem. And honestly, in the Carolinas, it's going to be hard to do that.
Yeah.
Our fisheries, and it's almost ironic that we're not native. These are not native waters to flatheads or blue catfish, except for some extreme rivers in the western side of the Continental Divide in North Carolina. There's some flathead waters, but those fish aren't here. But they're not from here native, but they're thriving and they're doing great. They're doing good. You can't really make an argument that anything's hurting them. So it would be hard to change that here. Other states, that may be a different story. But that's where the politics of fisheries management comes in, is who is going to bend that ear better, more effectively, and get change made or leave things the way they are. It's hard to say in Tennessee. I don't know all the dynamics there. I don't know all the dynamics in Kentucky. There's a lot of stuff with Kentucky and the Ohio River and supposedly pay lakes over there. Like I said, I don't understand all that dynamic, but that's where the politics come in of getting the biologist on your side, or at least working with them to affect some kind of change there in those areas. And, again, a lot of people don't care. They just want to get fish. They want to catch fish. Some people want to catch.
And a lot of people, I've heard the other side, like you said, we're not doing anything illegal. You're right. You're not. Now, I'm sure there are some illegal pay lakes.
Sure.
Stuff, but for the most part, these people are honest, hardworking people. And I know that people don't like me saying that because we want to demonize the person. I don't think we should demonize the person. We should promote sustenance, promote catch and release, promote, keeping the amount of fish we need in there. I'm missing the word, but conservation. Yes, we should promote conservation instead of demonizing the people. Now, and they'll tell you, it's just a fish. What's it different than any other fish too? And I think what on our side, on our CPR side, the community we have, I think a lot of people would just like to see some responsible laws put in to say, hey, look, this is cool, but this is not. We need to meet in the middle, because like you said, you're cutting off somebody's livelihood, the family business that's come up for years and years. The one place that's a hard stop for me is when big trophy catfish are taken out and just starved in the lakes. So I think really, and they're caught over and over and over and over and over. I went to pay lakes as a kid. Now they were all farm grown. Some of them were trout, some of them were catfish, whatever. But you kept what you caught. You put it in the bucket. You took it home. What you did with it after that, you paid for a fish, whatever. But the big 80, 100 pounders that are caught, and you can tell a pay lake picture, they'll just have the fish on the ground. I don't think they're allowed to pick them up. But then they'll throw them back in and they feed them dog food and all this stuff. But I think just having responsible laws in there, somebody, and I've heard like Lyle say it, and other people in their shows, we don't need someone going in there with a hot head and, spitting fire and whatever. We need somebody that can, see the other side and say, I get your point. Here's our point. Can we meet in the middle somewhere so that both of us can thrive?
And that's one of the things I was reading in the definition of politics, is that part of politics that we wish would happen in our federal government. We'd all be a lot better off if the two sides could come together with different opinions. They're opposing, but find some compromise in the middle. Life's really great and grand when it works out that way. But sometimes, we just get way too polarized on things.
Yeah. And we're
And
definitely in a different time now where it's not cool to get along.
yeah, it's like you have to oppose each other. But that's really honestly in fishing politics, especially when it comes to anything that has to do with changing laws. Compromise is the name of the game because we have a very narrow perspective in the way we view it. And if you take a minute and view it from the perspective of the guy who's running a pay lake, or the guy who is a bass fisherman, or the guy who is a crappie fisherman, sorry for the rest of y'all.
No, you're on the right channel to say crappie.
They've got a different perspective. And you kind of, that's the thing with biologists. I had a conversation with one the other day for about an hour, and he said, that's our struggle is, we have to figure out where the common ground is. He said, unless something's like going really bad, a fishery is getting, just flathead catfish, or the bass are just not growing because they're eating everything in it. He said, then we can try to change some stuff. He said, but he said, when it comes to catfish, he said, in the Carolinas at least, there ain't nothing wrong. So it's hard to, and he said, the other thing he brought up is, he said, look at all the state records North Carolina's been racking up. We had new flathead records. Blue seems like it changes every couple of years. So, so stuff's working. We all want a 50-pounder behind every rock out there, but it really doesn't work that way here. At least these guys that are in other places, though, I am curious just what the biology is behind all of that, and how much of it is the rivers, the actual water quality that's affecting, how much of it is over harvest, with the commercial fishing. And that's the tough part. You have to get into the politics of playing that game. That's one of the things that I was hoping will segue into another area here.
So
that the ACA would do.
I'll go on down to the bottom. Is it smart to play the game, or should you just stay out of it?
Well, and that's an individual choice. Me personally, when we got, we initiated a bunch of the stuff with changing laws in North Carolina. How long has that been? 15 years ago. It was the first laws they put on blue catfish. Learned the political process of how it works. Very much a political process. And, figured out how to play that game, how it worked, what you needed to do, the steps, all that kind of stuff. It's not for everybody. Not everybody wants to do it. Like I was alluding to a second ago, is that my hope with the ACA, American Catfishing Association, is that they would be, or will be, I say would in past tense, will be somebody who can do that. Because I do think we need a political organization like that to do that, because it's hard. We did it as the Carolina Catfish Club, which was, doing some tournaments, but we were trying to affect some change there. It's hard to get people together into a unified group. Heck, the ACA is having a hard enough time doing it, and it's, about catfishing. It's hard to get people unified, outside of an organization like that to do something, because somebody wants this, somebody wants that, somebody gets tired of dealing with it. I don't want to send a letter. You do send a letter, and it's this scathing, hate fest, or you go to a public hearing, and you're cussing, shouting, going nuts, and nobody's hearing you. So there's a lot to figure out and a lot to work on there to play that whole game. And, I'm hoping the ACA can do something along those lines. They're getting the ball rolling with it, but it's tough. It's tough getting people on board to do that. And like I said, not everybody, back to your initial point, not everybody wants to be involved in that. Some of them, like I said, they just want to go fish. They want to catch them a couple fish, go home and eat them, sit back and watch, some TV, and go to bed and do it again.
How you feel about this? We're talking politics. How about keeping the chicken price low so we can keep using it for bait?
Dude, I received hate, mail, and blame for that last year when chicken started disappearing off the shelves in there.
I think that a lot of people in our community are just worried that more people are watching Dieter Melhorn are going to want to go catch all the fish.
Well, I don't know. Oh, big shout out to Becca. That's big thanks there. Nice job. Boom.
5678. Excellent topic tonight, Mr. Kevin, and great guest, Mr. Mayor Dieter Melhorn.
Thank you. Thank you.
5678. Who do we appreciate? Everyone. Everyone. Go. Everyone. Love seeing all the opinions here. Prayers and blessings. Hugs. Thank you, Miss Becca. Always a huge supporter of all channels out here, and much appreciated. Never seen a chicken swim in the water. Virginia. A lot of people talking about their home states. Yeah. Awesome. Let's kind of shift gears because it's not all about conservation. There's other politics that go into it. Let's talk about tournament politics. Yeah, you've seen it. People, I saw a post a couple months ago, and I'm gonna leave names out because I don't know if they want me talking about it, but everybody's seen it. Guy saw.
I missed it.
People,
I don't know what you're talking about.
People fishing before the time started, and got pictures of the boat. Took it back to the tournament director. Tournament director couldn't make out, verify, whatever. They ended up doing well, something like that. So there's those kind of. But what other kind of politics do you see in the tournament world? Like,
well, here's the thing with tournaments. Most of them, the overwhelming majority of them, outside of the big ones like a Cabela's King Cat or maybe a Mississippi River Monsters or something like that, is in most of the tournaments, the people running the tournament are also fishing in it. And they're also fishing with their friends, their buddies, or the people out there. It's very hard, and I've seen this in our local tournaments, to disqualify somebody that's your buddy or your friend. It's very hard to do. And when
tough.
Yeah, we saw issues with people blowing through no wake zones. They had video of them. Don't do that again. You're gonna get in trouble next time.
Slap on the wrist.
Yeah. People going out, blasting off early, different stuff. And there is some
fishing outside the zone.
Yeah, there's some politics to some of that. It's hard to do when that's the good thing about the bigger tournaments. Cabela's King Cat or Mississippi River Monster, some of those is generally speaking, the people who are running the tournament, running the scales, doing all that on that end are not in the tournament. So there is a separation there. With that said, I think there are some politics that I've always we'll just throw names out there. Sea Art. Okay. I think there's a lot done to cater to Sea Art and their boats because of the live well size in them. And I think that's why limits have stayed higher on these fish. And I think it's why we have stuck with this antiquated system that we have for weighing in fish and the way we run.
So the system you're talking about is bringing in fish live, weighing them and taking them back instead of doing what Bass has done. And they measure them right there on the boat with a guy there.
Yep. Yeah. There's, I think there's some politics there. There's a lot of stuff that is done and catering to some of the bigger sponsors. Now that would only apply to some of the bigger tournaments where they're a sponsor, but like with the ACA, let's face it, there's a lot of politics in that organization. And when it comes to them, the sponsors that are on board and everybody's trying to keep everybody happy, that stuff happens. And, it is happening. And I think it happens in any series. Let's face it. If we wanted tournaments to be about skill, truly about skill, and that's what everybody goes back to, catching the winning fish, it should be about skill. Well, you know what? We could do that in bass fishing. Why don't we do away with all the Panoptics? All the
live scope. Okay.
Live scope, all that. That will never, ever happen in bass fishing. I'm going out on a limb and saying it right now. It will never happen.
It's too much money pumped in.
Too much money from LiveView, Garmin, Lowrance, all these people. That's the politics of the tournament world in that sense. You'll never see that stuff go away because they make, look at these bass.
You can't blame them, really. You can't blame the tournament directors because that's where they're getting all this money from them. And it's like, that would be stupid.
Yeah. So, don't get me on the whole thing of, skill. You want skill in catfish tournaments? Okay. One fishing rod. Start every tournament with no bait in the boat. Okay. All of a sudden, my guys over here, my Hellcat people, okay, they're going to beat me with these rods, Mad Cats, everybody else, they're going to go, whoa, we got to sell a dozen of these rods. One rod, just one, just pick a color. You get one rod. You want to make it about skill. That's where the politics start to come in the tournament world. There are people that are catering to make sure this stuff, it suits sponsors, it suits tackle people. And honestly, that happens everywhere in life.
That's part of it. I mean, that's the tournaments. Definitely, I agree with you 100%. And I never saw it this way.
Yeah.
Until, like I said, the more time, just like the more time you spend on the water, the more fish you're going to catch, the bigger fish. The more time you spend and we're calling it an industry, guys. It sounds, weird, but the industry, that means the tournaments, the tackle, the tournaments, everything, the politics,
everything tied to it. Yeah.
So that's the term industry. The longer I've spent in the industry, I see it, and it doesn't make me feel indifferent about it. It's just you've got to call it what it is. You got to be okay with what it is. And these big tournaments, we're not talking about your coffee can tournaments. We're not talking about your local guys, like the Santee Lakes Catfish Club. Great bunch of guys. They have Mad Cat sponsor a few rods every time to give away to the anglers, but they do it for a small prize purse, and that's it. No big sponsors, no cameras are there. But then you get into the big tournament world, like you said, and then all this money starts flowing in. It's not about the fish anymore. It's about advertisement.
Yep. I just made a note here. I'll give you another example. Is a few years ago, everybody's seen my video. I caught a bunch of crap about it because, that's what I'm doing. I'm a crap catcher. But when they sank the boats, I say they sank the boats. The boat sank, became swamped, whatever you want to call it, down on Wheeler during that tournament. Okay. That all happened because they launched in the dark before the tournament started, because a bunch of people went to the tournament director and wanted to run way down the river, lock through, so they wanted extra time. That's where that political pressure from a small group of people who were probably buddy, friends with the director got this to happen. And, it was a bad just chain of events that led to that. And you ended up having some people nearly, drowned and killed in that whole deal. That's the kind of political stuff that can happen. And it does happen, and it will continue to happen. The other thing I hear all the time is from tournament directors is, well, we put it to a vote. Okay. And if you've ever been at one of these tournament meetings,
I haven't.
Captain's meeting, they will bring different stuff will get brought up sometimes. And it usually what ends up happening is you will have some people in the crowd that are basically the vocal bullies of the group. And they are kind of the ones that will take over this thing. And then, they'll a lot of times as well, we poll people or we talk to people, and it gets changed because of a few, very vocal type people. That's the politics of tournament fishing. That is the way it is. And it's very simple. You can fish them or you cannot fish them. You can go, if it doesn't suit your liking, then, go do something else. But it happens. It occurs. It will continue to occur. And the biggest motivating factor there is money. And that's probably a lot of the common denominator in everything we talked about tonight is the good old dollar. There is money tied to it somewhere. And that's where the political stuff comes in, because usually if money's not involved, people kind of don't care. It's when money starts getting involved, that's when somebody starts wanting something changed, usually for their benefit. Rarely do you see anybody go, you know what, we need to change this tournament rule for the benefit of the fish, or for, the just the benefit of life in general. It's going to be because somehow it's something that's going to make it easier for them to catch fish, suit their type of fishing, suit their style of fishing, suit how they fish.
Good point. Yeah. And that brings us to our next point. There's a new banner on the screen. Cheating. How could it impact the industry? So that's definitely political, and we all know. I've tried to search other instances of tournament cheating, and you cannot do it right now, because if you type that in,
the walleye stuff's coming up.
The walleye, 10 pages of it.
Yep.
10
Yep.
pages.
People are always going to cheat. Years ago, when ESPN on BASS, I shot a story for them with Tony Christian down in Georgia. He was one of the first ones to get busted for stuffing weights into a fish. This was way back. It's probably been 15 years ago. And this guy is a millionaire. Okay.
Really?
He's I think he has a construction company, some type of contracting work, lives in a beautiful home, beautiful piece of land. He could care less. He could care less about making the money. He wanted to be the man. Wasn't about money. It wasn't about, oh, I need to make this $1,500 so I can get. It was about being the man. And anytime you have people with that mentality, which you always will, some people just want to be accepted, and be at that pinnacle or whatever.
They want to
Cheating,
be what people are talking about.
exactly. You want to be the man. You want to be that guy. You want to be.
Because if people are talking about you, you're relevant.
Yeah, exactly. You want to be Tom Brady. You want to be, Dale Earnhardt, whatever, and people are going to do that. And that's why, he said he did it. And, he said he cared less about the money. It was, about the notoriety of being, like that. And, people are going to cheat. As far as, the politics of it, you got to, do what those guys did up there on the whole walleye deal.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, I think they did a good job of, taking care of that and handing down the, the punishment and, even, law enforcement brought into it as they should be.
Well, here's my thing. I'm going to interrupt you for a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like, I read so many different things and watched so many different videos, and so many guys are like, we knew they were doing this. We knew they were cheating. They didn't mention the weights for so long.
Yep.
Like, you wonder, like, how long did it take for, could they have done anything to prevent it?
Yep.
Was it like what you were talking about earlier? Like, it's my buddy, and he would never do that.
I don't want to be a snitch. I seen somebody post that online today in a Facebook group somewhere, and I can't remember if it was about fishing or hunting, but it was like, I think it was somebody trespassing. They knew somebody was trespassing hunting. Like, I don't want to be a snitch. Well, I mean, personally, I think that's a very irresponsible. It's either one, you're just scared and a coward, and that's fine, and you don't want to get involved, or two, I just think it's very irresponsible for any sport that you're involved in. When you see somebody doing something illegal or unethical, not to call them out on it. And, in that whole tournament deal, it's tough when you think somebody's cheating. I had people thinking back when I used to fish tournaments on Wiley and we had a run, I was cheating. They swore up and down I was cheating. Jeff Manning may be in the chat tonight. He faced the same thing. People think you're cheating. It's hard to call somebody out, but it sounds like these guys, with the walleye thing, you get a walleye this long, most of those guys can be within 4 or 5 ounces of how much that fish weighs. And they were seeing fish that were like, supposed to be 4 pounds or 4 to 5 pounds, and they were like 8.
Like, they didn't just cheat. Like, it's almost like they wanted to get caught this time. Maybe they couldn't deal with it anymore.
Almost was like they wanted to get caught in all of this. I mean, they were just, had they, I've said this all along, had they put maybe 8 ounces in each fish, it wouldn't have been enough to really notice, but it would have been enough to, just give you enough weight to win. But yeah, it was almost like they wanted to. But yeah, the whole thing with cheating and, again, there is.
How does that change the industry, though? Like, I mean, you saw a lot of response back from the walleye community. Oh, this is why we have metal detectors at all of our things, or this is why we do this is why we do that. Jesse O'Neill just said it. They got comfortable. They got too comfortable.
Yep.
And which tells me that they're. I mean, you don't just automatically one day decide, hey, I'm going to wrap 2 pounds of weight in fish fillets and shove it down the fish's throat. Like, that's premeditated. That's something you've either been doing or you've been wanting to do it for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I don't know. You look at that whole deal surrounding that and you just shake your head and go, why didn't they just stop, slow down or something along the way? But
lose one.
Or lose one. But again, I think that's part of the I want to be the man's kind of
Right.
syndrome, and yeah, so
That's
it's
right. I want to be top dog. And I think one of the interviews they said they gave right before that tournament was, "Hey man, we're on top. We're the best, and we're just going to win this tournament. We're just going to win
yeah.
it."
Now,
Yeah.
how the second part of your question, how can it impact the industry? I think stuff like that can maybe get some long needed change in how tournaments are fished. Like we talked about earlier, this whole thing of, especially with that bringing in dead fish, you don't see that in any.
Yeah.
I remember back in the day, there were catfish tournaments. You just brought them in a cooler,
Mhm.
and it's very easy to have
Right.
those fish from the day before something. So they eliminated that, and having live fish makes a difference. I know there's some dynamics with walleye that time of the year. You're going to kill them anyway when you bring them up. Well, maybe
Yeah,
we'll,
they also cooked out for the veterans or something like that. Some
yeah.
kind of organization.
So, well, if you're having a time of the year when you're going to kill the fish, how about not doing a tournament during that time of the year? It's kind of some of these summer tournaments they do, even with catfish, it's a high stress on them. So maybe how can it affect the industry in a positive way? I always try to find a positive angle on it. Maybe it will make us have better, tournament rules, the way we run tournaments, the way we do tournaments, so that it's a lot harder. I guess you could stuff weights into a live fish, but it's a lot harder to do that with a live fish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I agree with everything you just said, and then just you know, I don't know. We people talk about lie detectors, but I guess if you're confident, you can beat those things too.
I
So
mean, yeah, it's a lot of that comes down to what's the question that you ask on a lie detector,
yeah,
and those guys pass lie detector tests in previous tournaments that they feel they were cheating in. So, a lot of that honestly comes down to the questions you ask, and two, what kind of test is it? It's just voice stress,
mhm,
or is it one of the more in-depth ones? So
yeah.
they're
I
not
don't see them
100%.
like
I
putting heart monitors on them.
Yeah, I think they're more of a feel good measure than anything. I think it keeps an honest person honest. And
Mhm.
I don't think these guys were honest in the least. And I think they could care less about the lie detector test.
You alluded to it earlier when you talked about Sea Arc, but we've seen it over the past 2 years. Like I didn't know that it wasn't a thing until I knew it wasn't a thing before I got into YouTube.
Yeah.
Uh, the rod wars, the reel wars, the boat
Hmm.
wars,
Hmm.
my stuff is the best ever and yours sucks,
Yeah.
type deal. Like that. I mean, that wasn't a thing, what, 5 years ago?
No, but I mean,
Not like it is now.
you and I are probably to blame for it. We're sitting here on YouTube, and and in social media, Facebook.
True.
I think that probably speeds it up more. It speeds up that communication because, I mean, honestly, just the fact that there's actually specialized catfish rods
Mhm.
is sort of new. I mean, there's been some of you know, Ugly Stick had, their Ugly Stick catfish rod that came out, and then some of these specialty rods like these over here started to show up on the scene more and
Mhm.
more. But a lot of that got widespread because of people like me and you, people on Facebook, talking about them, promoting them, put them in videos, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
And then that's just a big old fuel to the fire there where you can start telling how good your rod is, telling how
Mhm.
bad somebody else's is, and this one's
Yeah.
going to catch a bigger fish, and it just turns into a big old nasty dirty mess there between all of it. But it's like I say in my videos, they'll all catch fish. There ain't a rod out there that won't catch a fish.
What?
And yeah, it's just, believe it or not, yeah, believe it or not.
Yeah, I think
But
I think it I want to say that it's more the customer than the company, but I've seen some companies do it to each other too.
yeah,
It's like, don't get this one. I've grown up being taught, and I don't know if I was taught it or I just developed the theory from other people, but I've always been taught don't tear down others to get ahead.
yeah,
You know, talk about yourself. Yeah, you do have the best boat on the market. I do have the best boat. I'm going to tell everybody I have the best boat, but I'm not going to say that your boat is bad,
yeah, yeah,
and so that's kind of like the politics of it. You don't get very far doing that. You told me once, hey, want to have you on the podcast, but you're a little PC.
You are
for
a
the
PC.
podcast."
You are very nice. You're
I
very
am.
nice.
I try.
Maybe now that, as you said, you found your place in the community, you can go hardcore. No, I don't think you'll. I don't think.
No, I'm not. I'm not hardcore on
Yeah.
anything. Like I just see. I look at the results and I stay quiet and listen and look and watch and form my own opinion. And then if people want to hear it, I'll talk about it. But I think where we fail as a community politically is that we want to go out and shame others for what they like. And I never like to put people in groups either. I think that's another thing that's wrong with the world we live in. But as far as fishing is concerned, you put people that use a Hellcat into a certain category and they have to fit this mold and they have to be this person and do this and make this much money. And then a person that uses a catfish sumo rod, has to say golly whopper all the time,
Do they really? I didn't know that. That's cool. That's cool.
But yeah, so that I think now I don't think it's as bad as it was last year. Last year and the year before, like once I got into it, and I was that guy who like either bought one of each rod or somebody gave me one, and I tried a bunch of different ones out, and I liked them all, and then I started seeing all this stuff coming. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to use that one anymore. I'm not going to use that one because I don't want to be associated with that.
Yeah.
But what have you observed? You've been in the industry longer than
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of relationships behind the scene that never, some of these, I mean, there's some downright close to hatred. I'm not going to use the word hate, but there are some companies, whether it be rod companies, boat companies, rod holder companies, bait tank companies, that they don't like they don't like the competition for just lots of different reasons. And it doesn't get exposed a whole lot, but it happens. And, there's dynamics there and the politics of getting aligned with whatever, party group, I guess you could call it. It's almost like there's this little group of, and again, if you're in the industry, you see that you're kind of exposed to it. But for most people out there fishing, it doesn't affect them. It may affect them on, what products they see, what they get, what they have the opportunity to buy. But most people just out there fishing for the heck of it, they don't know anything about that. And for them, to be perfectly honest, probably could care less about it. If anything,
this is a good comment. It's like Chevy versus Ford, except Chevy and Ford are so big that they're probably buddies. And they're just laughing because you're selling them cars all the time.
Well, I was actually thinking about the Ford Chevy car commercial thing a minute ago when you were talking, because you look at those brands, they take time and Yeti coolers, Arctic coolers, none of them talk about the other people. All they're focused on is building a lifestyle, a feel, an emotional attachment to their brand. And that's what they are more focused on. And that does happen, with some of the better companies in the fishing industry. They're really good at that. Somebody I think like Pure Fishing and all the companies under their umbrella, they're just going to focus on, promoting and building that identity around their brand. You get some of these smaller people and smaller players, it can, lack of a better term, be a pissing match between them on what's going on and, all that. And that happens. It's aggravating to a lot of people in the industry. For some, it's just drama that we can sit back and watch and see how it unfolds. So that's why I was disappointed when you told me some stuff went on. I'm so out of the loop on a lot of stuff now that I don't get to see all the drama. Sometimes it's interesting. A lot of times I just tap out of it because you almost, after you've been around a while, you kind of know how it's going to end. You kind of know.
Well, there you go. And that's perfect segue.
Yeah.
So how has it changed? You started YouTube before me. You had it wasn't always Dieter Melhorn. It was the Wily Catman, right?
That was different. That was just a channel I had to put videos up so you could share them with people. That was not technically what I call a channel, trying to build a channel. That was just a place to park stuff. But yeah, that's stuff that I did. I mean, that was way back to before there was, YouTube and there was no Facebook and you were on these, fishing forums, Catfish One, which is still around. You're on there typing and making little posts and stuff. So yeah, it's again, the spread of information and communication is probably the biggest thing that has just blown up in the past 10 years. Back then, something would get posted, nobody would really hear about it because not everybody was on it. You had to tell, there's this thing on the computer, you get this website you can go to. Now everybody's in social media. If I put something up, generally it's going up on YouTube, it's going on Facebook, it's going on TikTok, it's going on Instagram. It's going to get thrown out there. So stuff gets spread around very quickly. And that's true for stuff that's good. It's true for stuff that's bad. So a lot of stuff gets, thrown out there. A lot more of the arguments, kind of stuff. Now, with that said, there's a lot of it that never reaches people too. So if there's two, hook companies, tackle companies that are fighting about something or, whatever, most people aren't ever going to know about it. It's more a little insider kind of thing going on.
Yeah, definitely insider information. I'll get a text every once in a while. I'm like, I had no clue that was going on.
Yeah.
And I consider myself plugged in,
Yeah. It's just, the biggest change is just, the widespread dissemination of information. And, that's, again, that can be good. It can be bad. People talk about, the internet's the worst thing in the world, but great things that happen because of it. And, same thing in the fishing world. I think the positives, sorry to hit the mic, the positives of all this stuff outweigh the negatives in the end. And maybe that's just the positive me. I'm not one of these people that's just a constant naysayer of, world's coming to the end, marriage going to crash, fishing sucked, we ain't gonna have no fish to catch. I think we will. I think part of the reason I have my channel and what I do is because I think getting that information out to people helps, educate people. I think educated people are, much better stewards of the resource. And, that's why I think that's my political spin on it. That's my little political spin on why part of what I do. And, so I think there is a lot of positive from all these politics of fishing and all that stuff. Again, most people don't have to deal with they're barely aware of it and stuff. It's more entertainment. So a lot of it's entertainment for people. And, that's kind of what keeps them tuned into it.
So I'm gonna put you on the spot, and you can go into as much detail as you want, but I can't let you out of here without talking about YouTube politics. As someone who is, commented on controversy or had, I've told you before, I said, I feel sorry for you sometimes because you get it all. Like, tell me a little bit about that and, how that becomes political after a while.
Well, honestly, you can, if you've got a channel and you're trying to do something with it, listen, and again, this is where it goes to all ends of the spectrum. If you got a YouTube channel that's just throwing up videos, you don't care who watches them, you don't care about this, that, or the other, you can do whatever the heck you want to. You can take a real political stance and be a total right winger. You can be a total, lefty. You can cuss people, talking about them down. But if you're trying to do something with your channel, trying to maybe reach brands, maybe reach everybody instead of trying to, isolate who your, target audience is, then there is a bit of a political correctness, as I, tagged you with, that you do have to embrace. And it's not for everybody. Again, some people just want to do what they want to do, and that's cool. That's the beautiful thing about, the internet, YouTube, all that kind of stuff. You can do it to whatever extent you want to do it. But, in the same breath, you don't want to be too radical if you want to have any type of growth, I think, in the fishing industry. I will say this. I do believe the fishing industry is, as far as real politics go, I think there is more of a leaning to the right, to the conservative side, than there is to the left. With that said, I think a lot of it has to do with what type of fishing industry you're in, what type of fish you're fishing for. I think, as far as, the catfish guys, I think more of them, the majority of them at least, are a lot more to the right. They
Mhm.
are in the true political politics, governmental politics side. I think they're more that way. If you went with the guys who are trout fishing, especially the people who are fishing out west and all that, I think there's probably maybe not as many, but I think there's a lot of, more on the liberal side there.
Is that because you think it's regional? I
I
mean,
think part of it's regional. I think that
Mhm.
part of it's the view of the resource, how it's approached, and just the demographic that is pursuing that type of thing. That's just that's kind of
because
my
the
arm.
farther you go out west, I mean, I know we have our pockets,
Hmm.
um, but the farther you go out west, the more blue it gets, and
Yep.
so and out west too, you have more trout fishing, more of that kind of fishing as well.
Yep. So, but yeah, I think, there's, you know, on the YouTube side of it, the Facebook, that whole world. Yeah, I think people have to, I don't know, they kind of have to bridle their
Mm.
political stuff to a certain extent because, unless you're just a total politician running for some kind of office, and we've got some of those too around. So,
Mm.
you know, I, I don't know. I'm pretty upfront and honest about stuff, like you said earlier, and I'm a hard one to follow because sometimes, I'll argue and
And
about
you draw attention from others, definitely.
yeah, I don't get pigeonholed into one thing or the other very easily because I'm very open minded about stuff.
Mm.
I try to really take a analytical look at stuff, and sometimes it's not always the stamped out whatever it is for. I think that's what's confusing. I got friends that are very liberal, and
Mm.
we will get to talking about stuff when it comes to wildlife management, and all that, and they're like, you kind of got liberal tendencies. I said, no, I've got tendencies in the fact that what needs to be done is right and wrong. It
Well,
has
you
nothing
can
to do with
be
liberal or
the
conservative.
term liberal is a Republican term anyway,
Yeah,
but we won't go into that.
that's a whole
Yeah,
nother
Big
dive.
Dan. How about religion? Yeah, so you have to pick that stance. I picked it early on that Christ is a huge
Mhm.
part of my life, number one
Yep,
part, and I said if I'm going to do a channel, I'm going to serve Him through it. So I
yep.
stuck to that. Has it affected my subscriber base? Absolutely. Has it affected how many views I get? Absolutely. Um, but I'm okay with that. And you have to choose either to do it. And I think if you do it, you can be subtle or you can go all in like me, or you can just choose not to do it all and it'll just be a mystery to people.
Yeah.
Just depends on what you want to do.
But
I,
I think you're in the right community for that.
yeah,
I
definitely.
think in this community, I think that would be, I think that's probably, I'm trying to think of
Mhm.
another fishing community where it wouldn't be as accepted. But I
Mhm.
think that's, the majority of your audience
Mhm.
is going to are going to be more faith based.
Right.
And there's people who aren't, but that's,
And you look at, I mean, one of the biggest YouTube channels in our community, Luke Cats and Carp and Outdoor Boys. I mean, he doesn't go into his belief, but if he's filming a video and it happens to be on a Sunday, he makes a point to tell people he's going to church.
hmm
He doesn't say what church, what night, he doesn't go into all this. It can be
hmm
assumed where he's going.
Yep.
But that's his way of doing it. He's like,
Yep.
that's where I'm going to interject that in. And for him, I think it's more of saying, hey, this is what we do as a family, and it's very important to us.
hmm
So, because we're a family channel, I want to show you that. Me, on the other hand, like I'll pray at the end of this, I'll pray for people and put scripture in my videos. And,
hmm
but you just have to choose, it's religion is super political. I don't care who thinks otherwise.
Yeah.
God is politicized and used to further agendas that have nothing to do with God,
hmm
so just
Yeah,
have to
and I've
choose.
done the same thing in my videos. Especially the hunting videos, killing a good deer. I've prayed in those before, and
Mhm.
I don't know. Does it turn people on? I'm sure it does.
It
Just
sure
as
does,
that,
yeah.
I'm sure it turns off people that I don't pray at the end of all my videos too. So I mean,
Good. Yeah.
it's like you said. There's at some point you just got to be you, and you got to do your thing. And I'm not one to fake it real good for a whole bunch of different people to try to make them happy. I'm just me, and I do my
That's right.
thing, and you know, tell
But
you
as
later.
far as if you want to be successful on YouTube, you have to decide what success looks like for you.
Yeah.
And if you want to get into, I mean, and that's a political statement, you got to decide what front you're going to put. And there's a lot of people that don't reference it at all, and that's fine too.
Yep.
All right, let's see. What's your forecast for the future? Do you think that, you know, the temperature of cat or fishing politics in general are going to keep heating up to a point to where people just say, I'm done with it? Or
Nah.
is it going to cool down, stabilize? What do you think?
It'll be. I mean, honestly, I think social media is going to drive a lot of it.
Very true.
I think that will. Who knows what the next evolution will be in that, where that's going to go to. I think as there's more and more pressure on the resources, I think that will affect. Well, we need to change this, change that, make this better, all that kind of stuff. I think there will be political pressure there that's gonna, let's face it, TMP, those 3 letters are they create most of our problems, and that's too many people. The more people we add to anything, they mess it up. And we got more and more. Look, think back to 2020. Remember that time, 2020, when the world came to an end and everything stopped, and all of a sudden everybody went fishing and the boat ramps were backed up.
But it was painful at the same time.
Yeah. So you think about all that, and I mean, we're getting more and more people. More and more people want to be outdoors. I know where I'm at. I'm right next to Charlotte, North Carolina, large metropolitan area. More and more people taking time getting out on the water.
I've seen it drop off, though, honestly. As we get back to normal, you see YouTube channels drop off. You see fishing gear going up for sale.
Yep.
So I do personally, I think that the amount of people are going to, it's going to get back to what it used to be.
Yeah. Yeah. And comparing it to 2020, the gas prices haven't helped either with gas prices being as high as they were this summer. I think there was a decline in the number of people out on the water because a lot of them are just, especially in the summer, are just burning gas to burn gas, riding up and down the lake. So, but yeah, I think, I think social media will be the big dictating factor in all of it. And I think, a lot of this stuff goes up, it comes down, there's interest, there's loss of interest. Like you were saying, people be selling boats and campers and ATVs and all this stuff they bought in 2020. So,
and they want new prices for it. Come on, people.
Exactly. Well, they can now. Inflation and supply and demand and all that kind of stuff has made it complicated. But yeah, I think it's going to continue. There will be our little struggles. I think there'll be more emphasis put on some of the stuff with just what's going on with legislation and getting laws changed and all that kind of stuff. So come over here, Taylor. Come say hey to everybody. Taylor just walked in. She just got back from cheerleading practice, so she has to jump in here and say, "Hey, what are you eating?"
Marshmallow.
She's getting a marshmallow. So there we go.
We got a couple comments here. Dieter, Bobcat Outdoors today. Dieter, I'll be in Rockingham in a couple weeks. Let's fish.
Bobcat, I may actually be around and back to functioning by then because, it's been crazy here with the Kentucky trip and everything, and NASCAR is over. Football will about be wrapped up by then. We got some college football stuff we're still doing. I've got guide trips that will be cranking up. So who knows? Yeah, Rockingham's just down the road.
Brian B said Dieter needs to get here on the Potomac. I got you, Dieter.
Dude, I need to go somewhere up there. I've been to the James River. I've been on the James River filming some stuff with some guys. I've never fished on it. Never been to the Potomac. I've been to the Potomac, but never fished on it. And that's definitely on my list of stuff that I need to go do.
Laughing Cat Fishing said, I want to see Dieter bank fish.
That was something we were going to try to do this year. And, again, it's like where we're at, major metropolitan area, pretty much all of our lake is occupied by houses and everything else. So there's a few select places that you can do it. But I want to do some of that just because I've got gear from people. And I've kind of wanted to compare some of the stuff with rod holders and some of the stuff we use on boats, how it works.
Like iHood?
iHood, yes. The heated, great name. I got to. Taylor has a question.
Digital Ghetto.
Does anybody.
Hold on a second.
If you can see.
I'm going to give you full screen here.
I'm going to try to. Can you see that fishing reel?
Yep.
Yep. Can you see the line? It doesn't matter if it has line on it because it's on there backwards and it's on top.
and we were, Dieter and I were texting back and forth about the show, and I saw his little short for iHood, and
Yeah.
I'd made a comment about it. And he said it gets better, and sent me that picture. And I said,
Yep.
I didn't think you could beat the upside down spinning reel,
Grayson
but you
actually
just did.
Grayson actually thinks they did it on purpose so that it would get some attention and get traction and get disseminated, people showing people, so that what just happened with you mentioning it and me showing it now,
Everybody's gonna
it's
talk about
iHood,
iHood.
their brand gets mentioned. So
There
it
you
may
go.
be some tactical stuff to it. They may
They owe
be,
you $50 right there.
those little Chinese people may be smarter than we think. Taylor has a question. What is your question?
Okay, Taylor.
Why is my dad the only one that gets called his real name?
My real name. What do you mean my real name?
Oh, I think she means because your channel is named your name.
Oh, Dieter Melhorn Fishing.
And
That's a good question.
My channel is named Palmetto Cats.
Palmetto Cats. Yep. And the reason I did that, honestly, because I have a very weird and unique name. And even
Dieter.
it looks like Dieter, but after you hear me say it 4 million times, you'll say it right.
Dieter.
Steve Douglas told me not to do it. Steve Douglas told me that I needed to change my name to, like a Muddy River catfishing, like, Chris Flores did.
That'll never catch on.
No, that'll never work. And, so something like that. And I was like, how about catfishing carp? Like, I don't know, that one's taken. But yeah, I took the advice of some of my friends in NASCAR, and they said, with a name as unique as yours, stick with it. So
it's working. Captain Dieter Melhorn.
Yep. Actually a captain now. Thank you for the sugars. Appreciate it. Love you. Bye.
All right. Last question of the night, unless we get a good one in the chat.
Yep.
Would the sport be the same without all the politics? And if it isn't, would you still want to be involved?
And it would be the same. Yeah. I mean, the actual sport part of it. Yeah. I mean, we'd still be fishing. We'd still enjoy doing it. We'd still just have that lust to get out there and see that sunrise and hear the birds coming to life and all that. We would. And yeah, it's the politics of fishing and all that stuff. That's a sideshow. That's a sideshow to all this other stuff. It's really a sideshow for those of us that are immersed in the lifestyle. Because like I said, if you're a casual person that's kind of in and out, you go fishing once a month or whatever, when you got some free time, it doesn't phase you. You don't know anything about it. It's the people who are eat up with it, who, literally, live, I have to force myself to like step away from it, like in the fall to go deer hunting with Grayson and stuff, to take a break from it, because it really is all consuming and in a good way. It's not, God, family, work are still priorities, but fishing is bumping right in there in fourth place. So yeah, we'd still be fishing.
Get that.
Yeah, we'd still be doing everything we're doing, and we still, so the politics, I kind of look in every now and then to see what's going on, and then I'm back out doing what I do.
Yeah, I felt the same way. I after Catfish Conference in February, I kind of just died off with it, and I was like, you know what? I still went fishing, but I didn't do any live streams. I just, I did a video here or there, because it can consume you. If I think about fishing and YouTube nonstop, which gets me in trouble because I should be thinking about God nonstop, and then my wife and family next, and then my friends, and then fishing. But when you really love something, when you really, get into it, it's hard to stop.
Yeah. It is. You kind of have to,
must have balance.
Yeah, check every now and then just to make sure that you're, hadn't lost your mind totally. But yeah, I'm blessed by God above to be able to do what I do, to fish as much as I do, hunt as much as I'm able to be a fishing guy, take people out, do this here, share this with people. So, you do have to keep it in check, but it's a blessing too that, hey, I'm just physically able to do it too. There's people that, for whatever reason, have all kinds of things that prevent them from doing that. So, yeah.
Well, they're, their country's at war, or they can't even, they can't afford their next meal. They're not thinking about going out and fishing with a Hellcat rod or a
Yeah,
CR
exactly.
code.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I agree with you, man. We're really blessed to be doing
Mhm.
what we're doing and being able to sit here and talk about it on the show. But that sounds a lot like prayer, so I'm gonna hold off on that.
Mhm.
Anything you want to talk about, bring it up. Anything people should be looking forward to for the Dieter Melhorn podcast or TikTok or YouTube or just a lot of the same?
Well, it's just going to be cranking stuff back up. I am playing around with the shorts thing. You've seen that. I'm putting some of those up. That was at the urging of some people that are closely tied to YouTube and know some stuff. But I'm trying that to see how they work, seeing what gets traction, what doesn't work. So you'll be seeing some of those. And then, YouTube in the fishing world, especially in our little niche, slows down a lot in, the wintertime, but there's still people watching. It's not in people's mind because probably 2/3 of the catfish world, or maybe half of it, is iced in, cold, can't go fishing. So we kind of lose touch with people. It's just not on their mind. So, but as next year comes in, be getting more and more stuff going on, fishing more and more guide trips. So it's good. Times are
You would
good.
think that the view, not to start another topic, but you would think that the views would pick up in the winter for the guys in the South that continue to pump out
Yeah.
videos because people still want to think about it and still want to talk about it, but it doesn't happen.
Yeah, I jokingly say they hate us because we're able to fish, so they just like want to tune us out and not see what's going on. No, I just think the widespread part of it just doesn't, it's just not on everybody. Stuck at home, whatever, and you're in the north and it's iced over and it's just not, I don't even think about fishing. So it's kind of like me and deer hunting. And that's where it's kind of my perspective on it. I don't watch deer hunting videos in March, April, May, June. Okay.
True.
Because that's behind me. It's done. My season's still several months away. I'll start watching those things late in the summer as the season starts to come in. So I think that's kind of what it is. But I'm going to keep cranking stuff out because there are people trying to do more and more podcasts. I like doing those. Those are the creative outlet where I can just do whatever the heck I want, not have to worry about the whole YouTube thing. But it's going good.
We do have another question if you got
Yeah,
time.
absolutely.
I wasn't going to bring it up, but what's your feelings on YouTubers going over to TikTok?
Oh, I don't know. TikTok's interesting. The thing with all this stuff is the short content. That vertical content, that short content, the stuff that's being consumed here on your phone. It's a different world and a different attack plan. And the way the stuff's short. It's the bottom line. But I think maybe TikTok's building something that is going to compete with YouTube in a certain, but YouTube's got a lot of the leverage right now. And that's part of the reason a bunch of the short stuff is being done, is actually to kind of try to stomp out or at least stifle what goes on with TikTok and some of the domination.
You would think that YouTube would make a long form vertical template available.
Yeah.
Because we are watching on our phones.
Yep.
And if the shorts are, they put the shorts in long format, which I really don't like that for like live streams and stuff. But for videos, it's nice because you fill up your whole screen with the video.
Yeah.
With the YouTube, unless you turn it sideways, to get widescreen. I don't know. Maybe that's just something.
Yeah, listen, it's not going away. There's going to, you're going to have to, I think, if you really want to build a brand in the fishing market, I think you're going to have to embrace that. I think Caleb Page from, Big Cat Fever, Catch the Fever, has done a good job. Him and his dog riding around doing TikTok videos and singing and he's done a good job in that world. It's building an identity and a brand. And that's the thing with all this stuff in the fishing world. It's multifaceted. There's a lot of cross-pollination. You got to figure out how all that plays and just how it's funny because I will get people that I'm kind of narrow-sighted in the YouTube thing because that was kind of the first, one that brought me to the dance. But I get people that will listen to the podcast and send me an email and say, hey, I found your podcast on,
Mm.
wherever. Now I just found out you had a YouTube channel. And again, that's kind of like, what? That's crazy.
It's
Why
baffling.
didn't you know who I was? But they're finding out there. And I'm sure the
Dieter
same.
Melhorn.
Yeah. I've had people, Grayson's reading some comments. He's my TikTok manager because that's not
Yeah.
my wheelhouse. But he was reading some comments on there. Some people who had found the channel went to YouTube to watch it. So yeah, it's interesting. That's a whole world of the swiping by it. Okay, that's
Yeah.
okay. Swipe away, swipe away. So
I think
it's
there's a couple different so I that was how I started off kind of advertising for it. And it had some negative effects too, but I think I got a lot of people like interested in the show tonight. Um but I uploaded a video which I thought was very well edited and whatever, and I was like, man, it's just it's not getting any traction, and I was kind of disappointed. And then I started thinking about TikTok, and it's like, man, some of these guys are going over there and putting videos down that are getting hundreds, thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of views. And
yeah,
I started thinking, why isn't everybody doing this?
yeah.
Now, there's two thoughts to that. And there are some people who don't don't do TikTok,
Mm-hmm.
because of being owned by China. And I get that.
Right.
There's spyware on there, so you have to agree to all this stuff, and I totally get that. And they can be disappointed that creators go over there and don't do much on YouTube anymore. Several of them do both. They try to balance both of them. But then there's some that have just like said, "Well, you're going over there, you're abandoning us. I'm not watching you anymore. I'm canceling you."
Yeah.
Sort of like that. And
Interesting.
that's the
Interesting.
kind of mindset that I kind of not warn against, because there's no consequence other than just, you won't get to enjoy their content anymore. But some of these guys are like, now TikTok, YouTube, with the Facebook, Instagram, it's allowed them to do it full time.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're making money doing it full time. And so it's about following those trends and going over here. Well, TikTok's doing great right now. I'm going to do this on here. And then there's YouTube Shorts are picking up. I'm going to do YouTube Short. And I think it's chasing after that more than just I'm leaving YouTube because I'm not making as much money. It's not about that.
Yeah.
It's about following the trend and being a creator, an actual creator. And I think it's just in our kind of community, fishing community, because you see creators doing that everywhere. You'll see one person, I don't know what it is, doing a podcast on this platform, and then they'll go to this one and this one and that one. They jump around, they follow the trend wherever it's at, because they want to make money on it and do it full time.
Yeah.
So I think, it's okay to it's okay to be disappointed, because I brought up Chunky Cats in my post. I miss Chunky Cats on YouTube. I miss sitting there and watching him on the TV.
Wait a minute, is he not on YouTube anymore?
He's on YouTube, but he primarily does live, and he'll drop a video or two on YouTube.
But he does them on TikTok now.
Oh, TikTok, like all the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Wow.
man. It's a great show. It's the same great show. Actually, probably better, because he's more animated and more laughy and everything. But I miss, me and Anna used to sit on the couch and watch him on YouTube.
Yeah.
But I don't hate him. I don't cancel him because he went over TikTok.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's interesting.
I think that's why that question was brought up. I'm going to support my buddies, and and I don't really do TikTok either. I'll put a video up there, my shorts. I just put them on there too.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it depends on the content you're creating. If that live stream works better there, I don't know why you wouldn't live stream to all the platforms. I mean, that seemed like that would be the smarter thing to do. Maybe, I don't know. But the content is going to drive, which one of those platforms is going to be the better one for you. I don't know that the stuff I don't know that I've developed a good style for the shorts, but I'm still going to play around with it some and work with it some, because I think there is a certain style of content that works there better than others. And maybe I can figure out what that is. I don't know. There's something to play around with. But
I figured out a little bit on the YouTube shorts. It's more about the title than anything.
Yeah.
if you say, look at this big fish, they don't care.
Yeah.
But like I got stuck by a hook yesterday in my leg and felt like I was going to bleed out on the pontoon boat.
Yeah.
And I just posted a picture of the bloody towel on the floor or a video, and I said, stuck me like a pig. People, ooh, what's that? It's more about the title, but
yeah, I mean, that's all part of the whole little nuanced things about each of those different types of being. Like you said, it's all evolving, it's all changing, it's all, you got to stay on top of what's hot trend wise. And
if you want to make a career of it, you have to do that.
Yep.
You have to. Now, I got a great job with a retirement plan, and insurance. I mean, I'd love more people to watch my videos, but I'm not chasing after the dollar. If I can put a little extra fuel in my tank so fishing isn't so expensive for me, that's my goal right there.
Yeah.
But I think I'm a long way from making like a second income.
Yeah.
From that. But there's people out there that they definitely have made a go of it and they're happy.
Yeah.
So I promote happiness. We talk about politics and there's too much angry people around.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Yeah, you can make a living doing it. You can make a pretty good income doing it, but I think I think you got to be diversified. I think, I think Catfish and Carp and the Outdoor Boys, I think they've done a very good job. They making a mint doing it without getting into brand deals and that type stuff. And, he
discovered the formula early.
Yeah. Yeah. But, a lot of it is, a lot of it comes down to a lot of the money is made in other little things that you're doing, whether you're Muddy River catfishing, selling fishing rods, Melhorn fishing, doing the guide trips and brand deals with different companies. There's a lot. I didn't get that when I first started doing it, but so I think it'll all work on TikTok too. And I think there's a different audience for all of it. We only scratched the surface of the number of people out there who are actually watching and consuming this content. So who knows? And the other thing is I'm very narrow-sighted and just focusing on U.S. English speaking people. There's a whole nother world out there that's watching this stuff, speaking different languages and stuff. So.
Yeah, my shorts are crazy. They go like the Zimbabwe and all these other countries. I'm like, sheesh.
Yeah.
The trick and if I can figure this out, the trick is converting those short watch time watchers into subscribers.
Yep.
Oh, until 2023, because in 2023 they'll start to monetize those.
Yep.
So did you know that?
Yeah, I had heard something about that, and I don't know what it is.
I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever get to monetize those, but
I just do it and we'll see what happens with it. So,
well, man, thank you so much for the discussion. This went like a lot easier than I thought. I thought we were gonna have to pull teeth on it, but
I thought it was going to get dirty and bad and mean and stuff. So,
did you on my channel?
I thought there was going. Yeah, I thought there was going to be some like really bad stuff or something and getting some hurt feelings, but I didn't hurt feelings again. This is like
we may have hurt feelings. You don't know.
That's true. I may be getting some of those emails. That's what happens. I'll get those emails. I agree with most of what you said, but I was like, I think you're a moron for saying blah, 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 blah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here and have safe travels on your hunting trip. I hope you get to relax a little bit too and kill what you want to kill.
Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Yep. All right, guys. Heavenly Father, we just want to thank you again for the ability to share the hobby we enjoy so much. We don't take for granted that we don't have to fight in a war. We're not, we don't have to worry about where our next meal is coming from. And we can sit here for an hour and such and talk about fishing and the resource that you gave us. So we thank you for that. Lord, I want to pray for one of our friends, and I got to look at my phone for his name. Sorry, Matthew King is one of my subscribers' son is going through cancer right now. Lord, we just ask that you lift him up, heal him. Lord, my dad just went through it, and you've healed him, and I just pray that you would do the same miracle for Matthew. We give it all to you. Thank you, and give you all praise. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, everybody. Till next time, happy fishing.